Princess Lyrelai pressed her back against the cold crystal wall and tried to stop the bleeding from her shoulder. The purple blood of her people dripped slowly onto the shining floor of the research facility. She could hear the heavy boots of Krugnoth soldiers somewhere in the tunnels above her. They were hunting for survivors, and she knew they would find her soon. The attack had come without warning 3 hours ago. Princess Lyrelai had been visiting the secret research station on the crystal moon of Valdris to review the latest discoveries. Her people, the Elvari, had built this facility deep inside the crystal caves to study ancient galactic history. The crystals helped power their computers and kept the facility hidden from enemy scanners, but somehow the Krugnoth Empire had found them. Their black ships had appeared in the sky like death birds and started bombing the surface. Krugnoth soldiers had poured into the facility through the main entrance. Her royal guards had fought bravely, but the attackers had better weapons and more soldiers. Captain Theron had died protecting her escape route. Guard Commander Valis had fallen while holding the main corridor. All 12 of her protectors were dead now. Lyrelai touched the data tablet she still carried. Even with death so close, she could not let go of it. The tablet contained something incredible that her researchers had discovered in the ancient archives. Stories and records about a race called humans. According to the old files, humans had lived in the galaxy thousands of years ago. The records said they were warriors unlike any other species that had ever existed. She remembered reading the files with excitement just hours before the attack. The humans had been smaller than most warrior races, but they fought with a fury that amazed other species. They never gave up even when facing impossible odds. They protected other races even when it cost them everything. The ancient records called them the most dangerous fighters in the galaxy because they fought not just to win, but because they believed fighting for others was right. But then the humans had vanished. The records said they had been driven away by a coalition of alien races who feared their power. No one had seen humans for over 2,000 years. Most species now believed they were just legends. Stories told to children about mythical warriors who would return someday to help those in need. Lyrelai had always believed the stories were real. Something about the detailed records felt true. The way other species wrote about humans with both fear and respect told her these warriors had actually existed. But believing they were real and hoping they would return to save her people were different things. The sound of boots grew closer. Lyrelai tried to crawl deeper into the crystal chamber, but her wounded leg would not support her weight. She could feel her strength leaving her body along with her blood. The Elvari were a long-lived people who healed faster than most species, but she had lost too much blood. Without medical help, she would die within hours. Commander Vexitar of the Krugnoth forces appeared at the entrance to her hiding place. He was a massive creature with gray skin and red eyes. His people were known throughout the galaxy for their cruelty. They conquered other species and used them as slaves. The Krugnoth had been trying to capture Elvari territory for years because her people controlled important trade routes. Princess Lyrelai of the Elvari, Vextar said in his harsh voice, "You will come with us now. Your people will surrender their worlds to save your life." Lyrelai looked at the data tablet in her hands. She thought about all the peaceful species the Krugnoth had enslaved. Her people would indeed surrender to save her, but then millions of Elvari would spend their lives in chains. She could not let that happen. "My people will never bow to the Krugnoth Empire," she said. Her voice was weak, but her words were strong. Vextar laughed. "Then you will die here and they will surrender when we bring them your body. Either way, the Elvari worlds belong to us now." The Krugnoth commander turned to his soldiers. "Search every room. Kill any survivors you find. We leave no witnesses." As the soldiers spread out through the facility, Lyrelai closed her eyes. She thought about the human legends on her tablet. In the old stories, humans always appeared when hope seemed lost. They rescued the innocent and punished the evil. They fought impossible battles and somehow always found a way to win. "If you are real," she whispered to the empty air, "if humans still exist somewhere in the galaxy, please help us. My people are about to be enslaved. Millions will suffer if someone does not stop the Krugnoth. The ancient records say you protected other species even when it cost you everything. Please protect us now." She knew it was foolish to pray to legends, but she had no other hope left. Her royal guards were dead. Her people's fleet was too far away to help. The Krugnoth would soon control this entire sector of space. Only a miracle could save the Elvari now. Lyrelay held the tablet against her chest and tried to stay conscious. She wanted to read the human legends one more time before she died. If these warriors had really existed, she wanted their stories to be the last thing in her mind. Maybe in whatever came after death, she would meet these legendary protectors and thank them for inspiring her people to never give up hope. The crystal walls around her began to fade as darkness closed in. Somewhere in the facility, she could hear Krugnoth soldiers destroying everything her people had built. Soon there would be nothing left of this place or the knowledge it contained. The human legends would die with her. The explosion came from somewhere above the crystal chambers and shook the entire facility. Lyrelay opened her eyes as dust and small crystals fell from the ceiling. At first she thought the Krugnoth were destroying more of the research station, but this sounded different. The blast had come from outside, and it was much larger than anything the soldiers had caused. Commander Vextar barked orders to his troops through his communication device. Report. What was that explosion? Sir, a ship has crashed near the main entrance, came the reply. Unknown design. We are moving to investigate. How many ships? Vextar demanded. Just one, sir. Small attack vessel. Probably a scout that got too close to our patrol. Lyrelay listened to the conversation with growing confusion. No Elvari ships were supposed to be in this area. Her people's fleet was defending their homeworlds many light years away, the nearest. Friendly forces were too far to reach Valdris in time to help her. More explosions echoed through the tunnels, but these were smaller and sharper. They sounded like weapons fire. Lyrelay heard Krugnoth soldiers shouting in their harsh language. Some of the voices sounded frightened, which surprised her. The Krugnoth were known for their courage in battle. Contact the patrol ships, Vextar ordered. Tell them to send reinforcements immediately. Sir, we cannot reach our ships. Something is jamming our communications. Vextar's red eyes grew brighter with anger. How many enemies are there? Unknown, sir. Our forward teams are not reporting back. The sounds of battle grew closer. Lyrelay could hear the distinctive whine of Krugnoth energy weapons, but mixed with them were sounds she did not recognize. Sharp cracks that seemed to come from projectile weapons, the kind of primitive guns that most species had stopped using. Centuries ago, a Krugnoth soldier ran into the chamber where Lyrelay was hiding. Commander, we need to retreat. The enemies are moving too fast. They fight like nothing we have ever seen. How many? Vextar demanded again. We think 5, sir, maybe 6. But they move like ghosts and hit like battle mechs. They know exactly where we are and we cannot track them. 5 soldiers against an entire Krugnoth strike force. Lyrelay found this hard to believe. Even the greatest Elvari warriors could not fight such odds. She wondered what species could send so few fighters against so many enemies. The weapon sounds grew louder, and she could hear running footsteps in the main corridor. Vextar grabbed his rifle and positioned his remaining soldiers around the chamber entrance. Whatever they are, we will stop them here. The princess does not leave this facility alive. The first sign of the attackers was a small metal object that bounced into the chamber. Vextar had just enough time to recognize it as a grenade before it exploded in a flash of brilliant light. The Krugnoth soldiers stumbled blindly and fired their weapons at shadows. Through the smoke came 5 figures in strange black armor. Their faces were hidden behind helmets with glowing blue visors. They moved with a speed and coordination that seemed impossible. Each figure carried different weapons, and they fought as if they could read each other's minds. The leader carried a rifle that fired metal projectiles instead of energy beams. Each shot found its target with perfect accuracy. A second warrior used explosive charges to blast holes in the crystal walls and create new fighting positions. The third figure moved like a dancer and seemed to appear behind enemies before they knew she was there. The fourth warrior carried weapons so large they should have been mounted on vehicles. She fired them as easily as Lyrelay might hold a small pistol. The fifth figure stayed back and provided covering fire while also seeming to scan the area with some kind of medical equipment. The Krugnoth soldiers fell one by one. Their energy, weapons could not seem to hit these fast-moving targets. When the soldiers tried to coordinate their fire, the attackers simply changed positions and struck from a new direction. Vextar himself managed to wound one of the warriors, but the injury did not slow the figure down at all. In less than 3 minutes, the battle was over. All the Krugnoth soldiers were dead or unconscious. The 5 mysterious warriors regrouped near the chamber entrance and began checking their equipment. Lyrelay watched in amazement as they moved with calm efficiency despite having just fought impossible odds. The leader approached her hiding spot and raised her weapon. For a moment, Lyrelay thought these warriors were another enemy force. Then, the figure spoke and her voice was clearly female. "Elvari Princess, we are here to help you." The leader removed her helmet, and Lyrelay gasped. The face looking down at her was unlike any species she knew. The skin was a light brown color with no scales or unusual markings. The hair was dark and pulled back in a practical style. The eyes were brown and showed intelligence and determination. But what shocked Lyrelay most was how the face matched descriptions from the ancient records. The proportions and features were exactly what the old files said humans looked like. This was impossible. Humans were legends. They had been gone for 2,000 years. "You are human," Lyrelay whispered. The leader smiled. "I am Captain Kate Martinez of the Human Colonial Defense Force. My team and I detected the Krugnoth attack and came to help." Lyrelay tried to sit up, but pain shot through her wounded shoulder. "Humans are myths, legends. You cannot be real." Another warrior knelt beside her. This one was also female, with red hair and green eyes. She had removed her helmet and was scanning Lyrelay with a medical device. "Well, we are definitely real, and you are badly injured. I am Sergeant Lisa Park, and I need to treat your wounds now." "The stories were true," Lyrelay said in wonder. "All the ancient records about human warriors. You really existed." Captain Martinez checked her weapon and looked toward the tunnel entrance. "We have existed, and we never left the galaxy. We have been watching and waiting for the right time to return. Today seemed like a good day to remind everyone that humans keep their promises." "What promises?" Lyrelay asked. "The promise to protect those who cannot protect themselves. The promise to stand against tyranny wherever we find it. The promise that evil will not go unpunished while humans still draw breath." Sergeant Park finished treating Lyrelay's wounds with medical equipment that seemed far advanced beyond anything the Elvari possessed. "You will live, but you need more treatment. We need to get you to our ship." Lyrelay looked at the data tablet still clutched in her hands. The human legends that had given her hope in her darkest moment had come true. These warriors were exactly as the ancient records described them, fierce protectors who appeared when hope seemed lost. "How many of you are there?" she asked. "Captain," Martinez helped her stand. "Enough, Princess, more than enough." The human ship was unlike anything Lyrelay had ever seen. From the outside, it looked small and simple, but inside it contained technology that seemed impossible. The medical bay where Sergeant Park treated her wounds had equipment that could heal injuries in minutes instead of days. The displays showed her internal organs in perfect detail, and the treatment felt like gentle warmth flowing through her body. "Your people have amazing medical knowledge," Lyrelay said, as she watched her shoulder wound close completely. Sergeant Park smiled as she worked. "We had to get good at fixing injuries. Humans have a habit of getting hurt while helping others." "Captain," Martinez sat nearby cleaning her weapons. The other 3 warriors were piloting the ship away from the crystal moon. Through the window, Lyrelay could see they were moving toward empty space, far from any planets or trade routes. "Where are we going?" Lyrelay asked. "Somewhere safe where we can talk," Martinez replied. "You have information we need, and we have answers you deserve." As her strength returned, Lyrelay studied the humans more carefully. They looked exactly like the descriptions in the ancient records, but something was different. Their equipment was far more advanced than anything mentioned in the old files. Their ship used power systems she did not recognize. Even their simple actions showed knowledge that seemed beyond what the legends described. "Captain Martinez," she said carefully, "the ancient records about humans are over 2,000 years old. If your people have been hiding all this time, how did you advance so far beyond what you were before?" Martinez finished with her weapon and turned to face the princess. "That is a good question. The truth is that humans never stopped growing and learning. When we were forced to leave the main galaxy, we found new worlds to call home. We spent 2,000 years building better technology and training better soldiers. We also spent that time watching what happened to the species we left behind. You have been watching us. We have been watching everyone. We saw the rise of the Krugnoth Empire. We saw them enslave the Zephyri people and destroy the Altani colonies. We watched as peaceful species like yours struggled to defend themselves against enemies who cared nothing for honor or mercy. Sergeant Park finished treating Lyralay's other injuries and handed her a drink that tasted better than anything she had ever experienced. We wanted to help sooner, but we needed to be sure we were strong enough to make a real difference. One rescue mission would not save the galaxy from tyranny. So you waited until you could save everyone. Captain Martinez nodded. We waited until we could guarantee that species like the Krugnoth would never threaten innocent people again. Today was the beginning of that guarantee. Lyralai felt a chill of excitement and fear. How many ships do you have? Princess, Martinez said gently, before I answer that question, I need you to understand something important. What I am about to show you must remain secret until we are ready to reveal ourselves to the galaxy. Too many lives depend on keeping our return quiet for now. I understand. Martinez walked to the ship's main display and activated it. The screen showed what looked like empty space around their current position. Then she pressed another control and Lyralai gasped. The empty space was not empty at all. Hundreds of ships appeared on the display as if they had materialized from nothing. They were all different sizes and designs, but clearly from the same builders. Some were small and fast like the ship she was on, others were massive battle cruisers that dwarfed anything in the Elvari fleet. Cloaking technology, Lyralai whispered. One of our improvements over the last 2,000 years. Martinez confirmed. This is just one battle group, Princess. We have many more positioned throughout the galaxy. Lyralai stared at the display in amazement. How many more? Enough to end the Krugnoth Empire completely. Enough to free every enslaved species in the galaxy. Enough to make sure that what happened to your research facility never happens to anyone again. The communication system activated, and a new voice filled the medical bay. It was another human female, but older, and with more authority in her tone. Captain Martinez, this is Admiral Claire Thompson. Report your status. Admiral, we have successfully rescued Princess Lyralai of the Elvari. She is injured but stable and has provided valuable intelligence about Krugnoth operations in this sector. Excellent work, Captain. Princess Lyralai, if you can hear me, I want you to know that help is coming. For your people. Lyralai found her voice. Admiral Thompson, I must warn you that the Krugnoth Empire has over 3,000 ships. They control dozens of star systems. Even with your advanced technology, you cannot fight such numbers. There was a pause before the Admiral replied, and Lyralai could hear amusement in her voice. Princess, we appreciate your concern, but I think you may be surprised by what humans can accomplish when properly motivated. Captain Martinez brought up another display that showed star charts of the entire local galaxy. Red markers indicated Krugnoth-controlled systems. Blue markers showed human fleet positions. Lyralai counted the blue markers in shock. There are human ships in every system, she said in disbelief. We have been preparing for this day for a very long time, Martinez explained. Every Krugnoth base, every supply depot, every military installation is already surrounded. They just do not know it yet. When will you attack? We are not going to attack, Princess. Attacks can be defended against. What we are going to do is remind the Krugnoth and every other aggressive species in the galaxy why humans became legends in the first place. Admiral Thompson's voice returned. Princess Lyralai, we would like to invite you to observe our operations from the command ship. Your knowledge of Elvari territory will help us coordinate the liberation of your people. Will you accept? Lyralai looked at the data tablet she still carried. The human legends had spoken of warriors who protected the innocent and punished evil. She was looking at the fulfillment of every story her people had preserved. Admiral Thompson, I accept your invitation, but I have one request. Name it, Princess. When this is over, I want to return to my people with proof that humans have returned to the galaxy. They need to know that the legends were true. They need to know that hope was never lost. Princess, Admiral Thompson said warmly, when this is over, the entire galaxy will know that humans have returned. And they will understand that we came back not as conquerors, but as protectors, just like the legends always said we would. The human command ship was larger than most space stations Lyrelay had visited. Admiral Thompson greeted her personally on the bridge, which overlooked hundreds of control stations operated by human crew members. The bridge windows showed a view of space that took her breath away. Human warships stretched as far as she could see, in perfect formation. "Welcome aboard the Indomitable Princess," Admiral Thompson said. She was an older woman with gray hair and sharp blue eyes that missed nothing. "I hope you are prepared to see what happens when humans decide that enough is enough." Lyrelay watched the main display as it showed Krugnoth positions throughout the Valdris system. The enemy had 12 major warships and over 50 smaller vessels. Their ground forces controlled 3 planets and 2 space stations. By any normal measure, it was an impressive military force. "Admiral, how will you coordinate attacks across so many targets at once?" Lyrelay asked. "We will not attack them, Princess. We are going to give them one chance to surrender and leave this system peacefully. When they refuse, we will demonstrate why the galaxy used to fear human warfare." Captain Martinez appeared on the bridge, having transferred from her smaller ship. "Admiral, our reconnaissance teams report that the Krugnoth are holding approximately 50,000 Elvari civilians in prison camps on the second planet. Any indication they will use the prisoners as shields?" Thompson asked. "Unknown, Admiral, but we should assume they will try." Lyrelay felt her heart's race. "Admiral, you cannot risk civilian lives to save my people. The Krugnoth will kill prisoners, rather than lose them." Admiral Thompson turned to face her with an expression that reminded Lyrelay why humans had become legends. "Princess, your people are now under human protection. We do not abandon those who trust us, and we do not accept casualties among innocents. Every single Elvari civilian will go home safely." "But how can you guarantee that?" "Because, Princess, we have been planning this operation for longer than your people have known about the threat. Watch and learn why humans became the galaxy's most feared protectors." The main display changed to show the largest Krugnoth battleship. Admiral Thompson opened a communication channel that broadcast to every enemy vessel in the system. "Krugnoth forces, this is Admiral Claire Thompson of the Human Colonial Defense Force. You are ordered to release all prisoners and withdraw from Elvari territory immediately. You have 10 minutes to begin compliance." The response came quickly from the enemy flagship. "Humans are extinct myths. Identify yourselves properly or be destroyed. This is your only warning. Withdraw now or face the consequences." The Krugnoth commander laughed over the communication channel. "We do not fear ghost stories. Attack us if you dare." Admiral Thompson closed the channel and turned to her crew. "All ships, this is Admiral Thompson. The Krugnoth have rejected our offer of mercy. Execute Operation Homecoming. Remember, people, we are not here to conquer. We are here to liberate." What happened next was unlike anything Lyrelay had ever witnessed. The human ships did not move into attack formation or fire their main weapons. Instead, they seemed to vanish from normal space and reappear instantly in new positions. Some materialized directly behind enemy ships. Others appeared above and below the Krugnoth formation. "Teleportation technology," Lyrelay breathed. "We prefer to call it tactical positioning," Admiral Thompson replied calmly. The human attack was not like normal space warfare. Instead of exchanging long-range energy beams, the human ships moved to close range and used weapons Lyrelay had never seen before. Some fired projectiles that seemed to bend space around them. Others used energy fields that disabled enemy ships without destroying them. The most amazing sight was watching human boarding parties in action. Small human ships would attach to Krugnoth vessels, and teams of soldiers would cut their way inside. Within minutes, the enemy ships would stop fighting and begin broadcasting surrender signals. "How are your soldiers taking control so quickly?" Lyrelay asked. Captain Martinez smiled. "Humans have always excelled at close-quarters combat. We also have 2,000 years of new tactics to show our enemies." On the planets below, similar operations were taking place. Human dropships appeared in the atmosphere and deployed soldiers directly into the prison camps. The rescue teams moved with impossible coordination to free prisoners, while other units kept Krugnoth guards pinned down. Lyrelay watched one particular operation where a single human soldier was surrounded by 50 Krugnoth warriors. Instead of surrendering or retreating, The human fought with such skill and determination that the enemy force was defeated in minutes. Other humans arrived not to help with the fighting but to provide medical aid to wounded prisoners. That soldier, Lyrelai pointed to the display. She fought 50 enemies alone and won. Private Dana Miller, Admiral Thompson said with obvious pride. Her unit specializes in impossible rescue operations. She volunteered for this mission when she learned children were among the prisoners. The battle for the Valdris system lasted only 4 hours. When it ended, every Krugnoth ship was either destroyed or captured. Every prison camp was liberated. Every Elvari civilian was safe and receiving medical treatment from human doctors. The enemy had lost over 8,000 soldiers while human. Casualties numbered less than 50 wounded and 0 dead. I do not understand, Lyrelai said as she stared at the battle reports. Your technology is advanced, but not so much that you should have won so easily. The Krugnoth are experienced warriors who have conquered dozens of systems. Admiral Thompson brought up new displays showing similar operations taking place across the galaxy. Human fleets were simultaneously attacking Krugnoth positions in 20 different star systems. All the attacks were succeeding with minimal human losses. Princess, the Krugnoth are experienced at fighting species who follow predictable patterns. They attack targets in formation with conventional weapons and try to minimize their own casualties. They have never fought an enemy that treats impossible odds as a personal challenge. But your soldiers take terrible risks. That private who fought 50 enemies could have been killed. Yes, she could have been. But Dana Miller also knew that every second she delayed those enemies was another second for other humans to reach the prisoners. She was willing to risk her life so that innocent people could go home safely. Captain Martinez added, Princess, this is why humans became legends. Not because we have the best technology or the strongest ships, but because we fight differently than other species. We do not fight just to win battles. We fight to protect others even when protecting them costs us everything. Lyrelai understood now why the ancient records spoke of humans with such awe. They were not just warriors. They were protectors who would sacrifice anything to save innocence. The Krugnoth had never faced enemies who cared more about saving lives than preserving their own. What happens now? She asked. Admiral Thompson smiled. Now, Princess, we send a message to every aggressive species in the galaxy. We remind them that humans have returned, and we still remember our promise to protect those who cannot protect themselves. The main display showed reports from across Krugnoth space. Their empire was collapsing as human forces liberated system after system. Other alien governments were broadcasting emergency sessions as they tried to understand what was happening. The galaxy is about to learn, Admiral Thompson continued, that the age of tyrants preying on peaceful species is over. Humans are back, and we intend to keep our word. 6 months after the liberation of Valdris system, Lyrelai stood on the balcony of her palace on the Elvari homeworld. The planet below showed signs of renewal and hope that had been missing for years. New cities were being built with human technology that cleaned the air and water. Schools taught Elvari children about their new human allies alongside traditional subjects. Trade ships from dozens of species landed daily at spaceports that had been empty during the Krugnoth occupation. The coronation ceremony had been held 3 weeks earlier after her father died, peacefully knowing his people were safe. Queen Lyrelai now wore the crystal crown of her ancestors, but she had insisted on one change to tradition. Human representatives had been given places of honor at the ceremony. Admiral Thompson herself had placed the crown on Lyrelai's head while promising that humans would always stand with the Elvari people. Your Majesty, Captain Martinez said as she joined Lyrelai on the balcony. The human officer now wore the uniform of an admiral after her promotion following the successful liberation campaigns. The Galactic Council representatives have arrived for the treaty signing. Lyrelai smiled at her friend. Over the past months, she and Kate Martinez had worked together to rebuild not just Elvari territory, but to establish new relationships between humans and other species. The friendship between them had grown into something deeper than military cooperation. They had become sisters in all but blood. Are you ready for this, Kate? Lyrelai asked. Once we sign this treaty, humans will officially be part of Galactic society again. There will be no more hiding. Admiral Martinez looked out at the city below where human and Elvari children played together in parks that had been prison camps just months before. We stopped hiding the day we decided to rescue you, Princess. Now we get to make it official." They walked together to the Great Hall where representatives from 40 different species waited. The Galactic Council had been reformed after the collapse of the Krugnoth Empire and several other aggressive governments. Species that had been enemies for centuries were now working together because they had all witnessed what humans could accomplish when they decided to act. The treaty documents lay on a table made from crystal taken from the moon where Lyrelai had first met humans. She had insisted on this symbolism. The place where she thought she would die had become the foundation for a new age of cooperation and peace. "Queen Lyrelai," said Ambassador Chen of the Altari delegation, "before we begin the signing ceremony, many of us would like to understand something. Why did humans choose to reveal themselves now? You could have remained hidden and safe. Why risk everything to save species you had never officially met?" Lyrelai looked at Admiral Martinez, who nodded, for her to answer. Ambassador Chen: "I can answer that question because I was there when the decision was made. Humans did not reveal themselves to gain power or territory. They revealed themselves because they heard the prayers of someone who was about to die alone and afraid." She held up the data tablet that had never left her side since that day in the Crystal Caves. "This contains the ancient records about humans that my people preserved for 2,000 years. Stories about warriors who protected others, even when it cost them everything. When I was dying, I prayed to these legendary protectors, not because I expected them to answer, but because I needed to believe that somewhere in the galaxy there were still people who cared about right and wrong. And they answered." "Ambassador," Chen said quietly, "they answered because that is who humans are. They do not fight for conquest or glory. They fight because they believe innocent people deserve protection. They revealed themselves because hiding while others suffered was not something they could live with." Admiral Martinez stepped forward. "The Galactic Council has asked what humans want in return for our help. The answer is simple. We want to work with all of you to build a galaxy where species like the Krugnoth can never again threaten peaceful worlds. We want to establish trade relationships that benefit everyone. Most importantly, we want to make sure that no child of any species grows up afraid that conquerors will destroy their home." The treaty signing took place with representatives from every major species in the galaxy. The document established the Human Galactic Alliance and created new laws against slavery, conquest, and the targeting of civilians in warfare. Human technology would be shared with peaceful species, while human fleets would protect trade routes and defend any world that asked for help. But for Lyrelai, the most important part of the ceremony came at the end when she and Admiral Martinez signed a separate agreement. The Elvari Human Friendship Treaty established not just military cooperation but cultural exchange programs, joint research projects, and shared colonies where both species could live and work together. This treaty, Lyrelai announced to the gathered representatives, represents more than an alliance between two governments. It represents proof that the galaxy can choose cooperation over conquest, that different species can become family, that legends can become reality when people are willing to make them real. After the ceremony ended, Lyrelai and Admiral Martinez stood together on the palace balcony again. The celebrations in the city below would continue for days as people from dozens of worlds celebrated the new alliance. But for now, the two leaders enjoyed a moment of quiet. "Kate, I need to ask you something that has been troubling me," Lyrelai said. "In all the ancient records about humans, there were stories about your people leaving the galaxy forever. The records said you were driven away because other species feared your power. Why did you really leave?" Admiral Martinez was quiet for a long moment. "Because, Lyrelai, we realized that our presence was causing more wars than it was preventing. Species were fighting each other to gain human support, or they were uniting against us because they feared what we might do. We thought the galaxy would be more peaceful without us. But you were wrong. We were wrong. Without someone to stand up to bullies like the Krugnoth, the galaxy became a more dangerous place for everyone. We learned that sometimes peace requires people to be willing to fight for it." Lyrelai looked at the stars appearing in the evening sky. Somewhere among those stars, human ships were patrolling trade routes and protecting refugee convoys. Other humans were helping to rebuild worlds that had been devastated by conquest. Still others were working with alien scientists to develop new technologies that would benefit all species. "The ancient records were right about one thing," she said. "Humans really are legendary protectors. But I think the most important thing about legends is not that they inspire us to hope. The most important thing is that they inspire us to become the heroes in our own stories. Admiral Martinez smiled. Then we have succeeded in more than just saving the galaxy. We have helped create a future where everyone can be heroes. As night fell over the Elvari homeworld, Queen Lyra Lay and Admiral Martinez planned their next mission together. There were still species that needed protection and worlds that needed rebuilding. The work of making the galaxy a safe place for all peaceful beings was just beginning, but now they were not working alone. Humans had returned to the galaxy not as conquerors, but as friends. The legends had become reality, and the future was brighter than anyone had dared to hope.